So from London, it's time to meet our panel then on digitization in the water industry. Firstly, Nitesh Alagh. Round of applause for Nitesh, who we've already heard from just now. We'll hear from again in just a second. That was a very muted round of applause there, Nitesh. But people, everybody, there you go. There we are. And now everybody's going to expect one now, you see. This is the thing. But everybody, all the digital audience are all clapping away, I know. Now, Joe Vertigan is here as well, Head of Digital Data and Innovation for Anglian Water at One Alliance as well. Joe, there's Joe there on the end. The Head of UK Water Utilities for Autodesk, Claire Underhill. Good to see you, Claire, as well. Thank you very much. And Adrian Goldspink is with us as well, Information Management Assurance Manager for Anglian Water. So thank you very much for Adrian as well. Now, before, and for those that didn't see it, I mean, it's an excellent presentation, Nitesh, so congratulations and thank you for that. For those that hadn't seen that have just joined us, I know this is going to be very difficult, but to sum up what we should be taking away from what you'd said.
Well, the key takeaway is that we are still deeply rooted in traditional practices.
Yeah.
Digital transformation is inevitable, but we can't wait any longer. It has to be done now. There's greater risk of not doing it now than it is to sort of not doing it later. So we have to do it now. And to be honest, we've got all the means necessary around us to be able to embrace digital in the best way, best shape possible. The sequencing is going to be important. We've got to start with processes that are going to be taking us to the right outcomes. We've got to invest in data and then sort of talk about automation and AI. If we do it the other way around, we are at a risk.
You're saying about doing it now. Is it happening now? Are people agreed to? I mean, let's ask you there, Joe. Is this something that everybody is embracing or people are afraid of, or is it happening?
It's happening, but it's very slow. This sector is kind of, doesn't do fast change in any way, shape, form. There's a large technical debt. There's tons of stuff to catch up on from kind of previous years. And certainly in the UK water sector, where you've got these kind of big 5-year cycles, these kind of AMP cycles and so on, that is slightly kind of counterproductive to the kind of longer term big investment you need to deliver some of these outcomes.
You know what, I do want to mention something, because I know there's going to be people that are watching that are hearing AMP8 and what's that about, and where everybody mentions it. What exactly does that mean, if you could explain, because there are some people that are thinking, well, what is it?
Well, the investment in the water sector infrastructure in the UK happens over regulatory price control periods, which we call asset management plans, AMPs for short. Sure. We've now just entered into our 8th such period, AMP8. We're just exiting AMP7. I know there's some sort of loose ends to tie on AMP7, but we have all made a head start on AMP8, and AMP8 is up to 3 times bigger than previous AMPs for most water companies. Sure. So a lot of investment going into upgrading our network, in sort of approaching net zero, in improving river health. So a lot of sustainable outcomes, coping with population growth in areas and, new townships in other areas. So this is our regulatory price-controlled asset investment period for the next 5 years.
Claire, let me ask you, you're obviously not affiliated to a water company like our other 3 friends here. Does everybody gets on? Is there a rivalry you see amongst them, or does everybody work together? And who's the best one?
Ooh. Well, I won't answer the second question.
Okay.
Because there will be some problems.
I thought maybe you wouldn't, but it was worth just throwing in there anyway.
Well, I'm really happy to say that I see the water utilities as really collaborating, because they're all in the same position.
Yeah.
So AMP8 is huge. Over 100 billion is going to be spent in the next 5 years. There's a huge amount of pressure, and there aren't the resources out there. And certainly in the digital world and digital transformation, that is seen as one of the biggest things that they can do to achieve their goals in this next AMP period. And I know that the water companies speak regularly with each other, and many have got different things that they're doing, and they're sharing those ideas. And I think that's really important to ensure that the industry as a whole is progressing forward and maturing digitally.
Before I come to Adrian, I'm going to come to you in a second. Yeah. One more quick one for Nitesh. And it was the way you were talking about the fact that you feel, I don't know if this is fair, that you're behind other industries when it comes to digitalization. Why is that?
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I won't mince my words. We are massively behind some other industries, some other sectors. A lot to learn there, and some of it is because there's, as Joe rightly said, a lot of technical debt. A lot of investment into technology has been under-prioritized for quite some time. In the interest of delivering bricks on ground and spades in ground, investments towards digital has taken a back seat. Whereas other industries, manufacturing is a good example that I spoke about earlier, they have invested in technology, in digital, ahead of any other investment opportunities that they've had. So water industry, no shadow of doubt, is behind, but we can play catch up very, very quickly, is what I'm finding.
When you say very quickly,
well, we are living in a completely new capital world in Severn Trent over the last 2 years. We've been able to shift the needle from underperforming and not having any capability to now be finding ourselves, when we compare and contrast ourselves with other utilities, for example, I won't talk about other water companies, but other utilities, when we benchmark ourselves against other utilities, we're finding actually we do this already, and we've been doing this for some time now. So we are finding that, yes, the gap is huge, but you can very quickly bridge that gap.
Right, let's ask you, Adrian Goldspink, with Anglian Water. It's two of you, Anglian Water, of course. But where are you, and how important is this digital transformation then, as far as Anglian Water are concerned?
I think, for me, it's two spaces, as you say, Nitesh. It's the delivery world, and it is, in terms of that comparison within Anglian, the delivery space has always been more mature in terms of digital. It's getting better. The work that Joe and his team are doing in terms of the At One Alliance is moving that capability forward. But there's always a bit of a lag within the Anglian side.
Right.
There's a lot of kind of traditional approaches still, but we are looking to move
Well,
that
this
forward.
is interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, even with the last, when we were talking about engineering earlier with Norman, I don't know whether this is the same with the world in the industry that you're in, Joe, but is there maybe the arguments between the old school and the younger ones trying to change things, whereas there's the people that are like, well, no, this is the way we've done it, this is the way we've always done it. Is that a battle?
I think it is. I mean, and it's strange because maybe it's the way we're funded, or maybe it's the way the contractors have traditionally worked, but there hasn't been, certainly in the water sector, some of the driving commercial elements. If you sit in aerospace or something like that, you've got these kind of global supply chains, and you've got this driving change that we need to build a A380 faster, sure, and so on. And yet, I think our challenge is that, we have exponential challenges, be it climate change, be it kind of the rising population and things like that. And yet we've very much, in my view, the water companies move in a very incremental way. And it's been an incremental, and this is why the 5-year AMP cycle and so on. So these are kind of 5-year cycles, but they're also kind of catching up, application new technologies. And I think there is, it's really positive. There is a need, there's an acceptance that there is a change, but trying to propagate that, trying to drive that kind of, as with any digital transformation program, it starts with trying to engender the culture element. Yeah. And culture takes a long time to change and develop, as we all know. So actually, how do we kind of give people, the opportunity to explore, to experiment, and to learn from new sectors? As in Nitesh's great kind of presentation, there's the learning from new sectors is really crucial and so on. So we don't need to kind of, start from scratch. Let's go to manufacturing, let's go to aerospace. I've spent some time at Sony, and, there's things we were doing in Sony in 2001 which are kind of, seen as really new in kind of the water sector in 2025.
This is not an Anglian Water Walkman that we're going to see, is it? Okay,
no.
Okay.
But in terms of the data, the management, the flow of information and so on, that, that had to be addressed in those sectors many years ago and so on, and it hasn't been addressed in the same way kind of within parts of the water sector.
Claire, you were nodding there. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about quite a few things actually as you were saying that. I think one of the biggest transformations is the ability for teams to collaborate. I really do think, and Nitesh, you showed that in your presentation, okay? Typically, what I've seen in my career is that water companies have many teams, but they're actually quite siloed. Yeah. And when you have such a big investment, you need those teams to come together and collaborate. And that is really important, especially we heard about sustainability. Sustainability is so important going forward. And historically, you'd have the engineers and you'd have the environmental scientists kind of separated. That's bringing them together, but also within the organisation.
Does everybody buys into that, right? Does everybody buy into sustainability?
Ooh, I'm not sure that's a question that I can answer, but I think they do. I think there's both a kind of a mandate for sustainability, but there's also people's awareness and personal wanting to do better things for this planet going forward. So,
I'll come in to actually build on Claire's point and answer your question. And also to build on Joe's point. I think it's a little bit more fundamental than that, around that culture change or perceptions and people wanting to change and some people demanding change. Without sounding ageist, it might be a case of, some sort of generations of people who've been working in the same industry for a very, very long time are resistant to change. But yet, as a sector, we're talking about attracting new talent who are demanding digital practices. And that's where you see a bit of a divide to Joe's point around what is the traditional client, which is more around operating and maintaining for 20, 25, 30, 35 years, which have not had the OPEX investment. CapEx, capital investment, is now driving and fueling that change, allowing the likes of, design consultants, technology partners, new construction principal contractors to introduce new technology through CapEx funding. And that shift from OPEX to CapEx, capital being a huge now, is driving that change in introducing new people to the business. And then to build on Claire's point, this new generation is very purpose-driven. They want to work with Severn Trent not because it doesn't pay very well compared to other sectors, but because it is deeply sort of purposeful in its business. They want to work with Severn Trent because it is delivering sustainable outcomes for our generations to come. So that's what makes this sector still an exciting one, still a very appetizing opportunity to work in, because you can roll up your sleeves and get in there and make real change.
Sure, no, very important. Adrian, let's talk about asset data. I want to talk about that because this has been mentioned a lot over the summit so far. What sort of role does that have when it comes to improving water management, also distribution as well?
Yeah, I think kind of in terms of water and water recycling, so the dirty water side of the business, it's now becoming key. We can't operate, we can't get the insights and the decisions we need to take without good data, without good information moving forward. I think that a good example is our SPA pipeline that we're putting in through Anglian. So taking water from the north of the region down to the south of the region. I think it's around 340 kilometres worth of pipeline. Wow. Lots of strategic interconnecting pipe work, because we are a very scarce region when it comes to water. We're a very flat region when it comes to water. And the days of kind of local control and local knowledge have gone because of this bigger system of systems that we're now introducing. Data is going to prove key to making that effective. And also how we operate these things. Our networks are getting smarter. There's a lot more intelligence. There's a lot more automation in there. And without good data to support those things, not going to work. So it's key.
Anybody else with thoughts on that, Joe?
Yes, I think kind of, as I touched on earlier, technical debt, that kind of good data, when one gets, I'm sure we all get numerous kind of vendors where 10 years ago it was big data is a problem. Today it's kind of we've got amazing AI tooling and so on. And yes, we'll come in, we'll fix all your problems with some form of AI tooling and so on. But fundamentally, we need to get the quality of data to do those exciting and new things. We need to unlock that. We need to stop, or create a decent level of data governance in the business and so on, understanding that data has value and so on, so we can train these tools and so on. So it's a really interesting time where we're kind of merging those we've got those emerging technologies, and whether they be elements of AI, so we've got the kind of machine learning, computer vision, kind of predictive kind of maintenance elements, so we've got those elements. But none of that's going to work unless we've got really robust data underpinnings and so on.
Sure.
And that's where we see lots of things fall over and so on. It's kind of between amazing kind of future tooling and the world of oh, well, we can't do this because everything's an Excel spreadsheet. I spend a lot of my life hunting down Excel processes and saying, no, we cannot have that, and you cannot have multi-version as well, and so on. So,
And are they listening to you? Are they listening?
They are in part.
I used an analogy earlier, right, to build on that data point. I used an analogy earlier. Imagine you've got a dream destination in mind, and let's say that is predictive analytics or prescriptive analytics or autonomous plant. That's your dream destination. You want to get there.
Sure.
And you booked your flight. You've invested in that concept, and you've traveled 6 hours, if not more for some people, to take a flight to your dream destination, only to find out that either you've left your passport at home, or you've not checked your passport and it's out of date, or
Has my wife been speaking to you?
Yeah.
Sounds like my last holiday.
or you picked up your wife's passport instead, right? So what is that passport?
Yeah,
It's that data.
of course.
So if you don't have the right data in the right format, which is valid today, available of good quality, you will never be able to realize those ambitions and those sort of visions and dreams that we have.
What are the biggest challenges that you've faced so far?
It's the challenge is that there is a lot of data across disparate systems. It's not that we haven't been generating data. I mean, if you look at a typical day in life of an operator, they generate data from the moment they turn up on their site, even before they turn up on their site. There is a lot of data for us right now, and people are very happy to run the data the way they've been running. That's been a problem up until today. As Joe mentioned, that stops being a problem now because machines can read paper, because machines can go through various different spreadsheets and find you the right versions. Systems can allow you to control different versions. That stops being a problem now. From here on, I don't see a problem other than intent.
Now, let me ask all. Sorry, Adrian. You
Oh, sorry, yeah, I was just going to add, in terms of AMP8, so from Anglian's perspective, our investment programme is around £7 billion for the next 5 years, so a huge, huge amount of money. And we were talking only earlier this week that it looks like we're going to be generating twice, if not 3 times, the volume of data out of those capital projects that we would have done in AMP8. So we as Anglian need to get much better at pulling that in, as you said in the presentation. We've got to be better at consuming this stuff and then turning it into something that's useful for us. And one of the things that we're not great at, we're good in some areas, not so great in others, is actually maintaining this stuff. So when it comes back into the next round of investment decisions, we've got some good core data to make sure we're building in the right place at the right time.
I'm going to use a word here, that's exciting. Is it an exciting time to be in the water industry, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. There is such a number of tasks to be done, problems to be solved. It's certainly exciting. And I mean, digital transformation, it ebbs and flows. I mean, digital transformation is...
You keep using the word flow when you're talking about water. I mean, I can tell where this is coming from. It's excellent.
But it
Ebbs and
does...
flows.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit cliched. There's been...
It's great.
Some people say, well, digital transformation, it's basically a website upgrade.
Yeah.
This is so much more fundamental with that. And actually, on Adrian's point about kind of data and so on, this is where we should be taking learnings, and we can rapidly catch up by taking learnings from the likes of perhaps Rolls-Royce in terms of their kind of power by the hour kind of type of concepts. Or I, again, did some work in defense. If you think how much data is typically generated by, a number of F-35s on an aircraft carrier in a single mission, it's in petabytes. And here we sit there going, right, we've got an Excel spreadsheet that kind of covers that. How do we actually, and we can rapidly adopt some of these elements because some of the hard work has been done in other sectors. And so, it is a matter of actually learning quickly and applying those learnings from other sectors and saying, right, we don't need to go through some of those early stage learnings. The information is out there. We did a piece of work about 18 months ago, where we looked at identifying assets, 12-meter tanks across the area and so on. And again, the barriers to that have dropped away. You traditionally would have been sent a person out to the site to have a look and so on, and that's still really valuable. But there's also, we looked at an option where we could actually go, right, we've got the satellite data, we've got really high-res satellite data. We can take an off-the-shelf algorithm from segment anything and so on, and we can train it to go looking for those assets and so on. That's an off-the-shelf, free-of-charge algorithm. We have the satellite data, merge those together, and we can rapidly identify those assets across the region. That is like, small side project done one summer and so on. That's there at our fingertips now.
Last one is going to be for you. I mean, we could talk all afternoon, couldn't we?
We
But
could.
So you have your crystal ball there, Claire. You're looking into the crystal ball, and over the next 5 to 10 years, what technologies do you think will have the biggest impact on the water industry?
Ooh, okay. I think that's actually quite a difficult question. We've spoken about AI.
Yeah.
AI is a big thing now, and I'd say that a lot of industries are talking about AI, but exactly as Joe said, it's about preparing for AI, because AI needs data to learn from. Yeah. So data is absolutely critical. I think when we're looking into the future, it's not just about technology, because technology is moving incredibly quickly. Okay. It's also about adoption, people using it. And I think that is something that's really key, is how people and how technology can be developed in a way that gets very quick adoption, quick access to data that allows people to make quick decisions, to enable them to have that situational awareness, and certainly within an organisation, the democratisation of data. I see. It's not just about technology. Technology is moving at an incredible pace, and that is really exciting. But it's about people using it and leveraging it to the full to meet the outcomes that they want.
Excellent answer. I think there's so many parallels. I think in everybody we speak to in every industry. I mean, technology is there, but people are at the heart of everything, though, aren't they, Nitesh?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes as leaders, we can send out confusing messages, right? We could be talking about why an investment is justified because it will drive unprecedented efficiency. I'm calling it efficiency, but a person on the ground might be hearing it as job cuts, right? So we have to give the right messages that our investment is doubling, trebling. Even if we wanted to, we can't double and treble our workforce because that workforce doesn't exist. So it's not about technology replacing people that we have. It's about technology filling the gap between the people that we have and the people that we need in future. So I think the messaging, leadership, personal accountability are all critical factors to really leverage the technology, because the technology exists.
Yeah,
Yes, sorry, Claire, we have a very short...
I've got to say one thing. So, I mean, we've got two exceptional water companies here today, and when you look at transformation and adoption of technology, what I've seen is you'll have one approach where a team will adopt some technology, and then you get this organic growth from that team. Everybody goes, oh, I want that, oh, no, I want that, But then we've got AMP8, and that time is not a luxury now. So what we have is two water companies who saw that this was going to be a huge pressure on them and had the foresight to get the adoption going. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, Nitesh, it's incredible, the adoption numbers.
Yeah, I mean, numbers are great, but it's better when we're all in it together.
I'm going to have to interrupt you. I mean, we could, like I say, we could talk for a very long time, but thank you. I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's been fascinating. Can we have a huge round of applause for Joe Vertigan, please? Joe from Anglian Water at One Alliance, and Claire Underhill there, who's the head of UK Water and Utilities at Autodesk, and also Adrian Goldspink from Anglian Water, and Nitesh as well. Thank you very much, all four of you. It's been very, very interesting, and thank you very much